How Agriculture Changed the World, a historical humans production. The earliest humans in the world survived and subsisted off of hunting for large game and scavenging and gathering fruits, vegetables, nuts, and roots. This, however, began to change once man discovered agriculture and plant domestication. The ability to grow and raise food in a central location shifted how we lived and allowed humans to grow in population. The earliest evidence of this comes from 9000 BCE in Mesopotamia, which is in modern-day Iraq. This began with the cultivation of oats, wheat, and other cereal grains, but quickly expanded to the domestication of goats, sheep, and pigs in the following millennia. It is because of this that the region is often referred to as the cradle of civilization and the breadbasket of the region, due to its prominent fertile valley of the Tigris and Euphrates rivers. This, however, isn't something unique to the Middle East, as agriculture was independently invented across the world. In North America, evidence for plant cultivation can be seen as early as 7000 BCE. The earliest plants that were cultivated in North America are maize, beans, and squash, which are often referred to as the triumvirate. These combination of seeds worked well together, as the maize provided a stalk for the bean to grow upon. The squash provided large leaves to cover the ground, and for the corn to provide nitrogen. The three plants grew in tandem and allowed food production per acre to skyrocket. In Asia, the cultivation of wild millet, wheat, and rice allowed for large populations to boom, as the ability to produce large amounts of calorically dense food became easier and easier, with more land being dedicated towards the new agricultural lifestyle. The shift to agriculture meant that there was now a significant amount of excess food production, and that less time was needed hunting and gathering food. This switch now allowed for specialization in craft, as artisans could now expend excess time working on their crafts, instead trading their time in creating items for excess food. Eventually, the system led to large populations settling near this agricultural centers, and the first cities and civilizations were born. The centralization of people led to a more stratified society and increased wealth inequality. The more land you controlled, the more food that could be produced, and the more wealth that was accrued. During the Middle Ages, land barons would own large parcels of land and lease it out to tenants who would subsequently farm the land and pay rent with their service. Serfdom, as it was called, was one of the most prominent methods of farming through most of recorded history. The domestication of animals helped contribute and in some cases expedite this transition. Goats, sheep, pigs, and eventually cattle, horses, and other beasts of burden allowed for increased food production and byproduct production. The sheep could produce wool that was made into clothing, while horses and mules assisted in the cultivation of plants, as they would be the horsepower behind the farm tools. Eventually, though, other animals became domesticated as pets, mainly the cat, who would begin to wander closer to human settlements, where they would be offered food, eat pests like mice and rats, and offer cuddly yet sarcastic companionship. They are believed to have domesticated themselves, as they had lived alongside humans for thousands of years prior to domestication. And now, with domesticated animals to help contribute on the farm, farming was here to stay. And eventually, this form of farming shifted from the large land barons to more individualized farming. Farmers would own and work farms for their own family's subsistence, plus some to be sold. In America, the idea of owning a farmstead and championing the land became a rallying cry for hundreds of thousands who migrated to work the lands and would often try to break new lands and make them viable for agriculture. This was a gamble, as some got really good, fertile land near waterways, while others had to deal in harsher climates that didn't get as much rainfall. The individual farm began to shift after World War I, when motorized tractors became more and more common. An eventual shift from beasts of burdens, horses, mules, and oxen, were phased out of use in favor of a mechanized machine that could till and plant the land at unprecedented rates. Coinciding with the mechanization of farms, many people fled to cities in search of employment. Larger corporations began buying up large portions of the land, and thanks to the large-scale heavy farm equipment, the farming process is optimized and is very closely monitored. The introduction of technology allowed for an even closer eye to be placed upon the farming process, as now electronic systems monitor soil content, moisture, pests, and rain. These technologies improve the yields of most farms and decrease the amount of labor required. The large mega farms may be changing as we know it. A large investment into renewable energy methods have led some mega farms and large acreage to begin to adopt solar and wind energy. These farmers will lease out, or in some cases sell their land to electric companies to build large wind farms that produce clean energy. This is not without some controversy, as many rural residents complain about the wind farms due to perceived noise, visual obstruction, or other complaints. Solar farms have begun to sprout up in areas that see significant amounts of sunlight and may not be arable to farm previously. These are being placed in desert-like landscapes or areas that may not receive sufficient rainfall or a consistent harvest. These alternatives allow farmers to monetize their farmlands and produce green electricity without the need to cultivate anything. How may farms change in the future? Well, for right now, we are seeing the shift in how plants are selected for breeding, and many of our favorite fruits, vegetables come from genetically altered plants, which isn't always a bad thing. Many of our favorite foods, such as corn, is modified. Corn is a derived plant variant of maize, which had its properties selectively bred for generations that led to these modifications. But it could go further than that. Thanks to recent developments in reusable rocket technology and the billionaire space race of SpaceX, Blue Origin, and Virgin Galactic, that colonization of other planets is becoming a reality. Elon Musk himself has stated that he wants to begin a colony on Mars as soon as 2029. A foreign planetary colony would require a sustainable method to grow plants on a different planet. And it may have already been figured out how to replicate food beyond Earth. Scientists have conducted a number of greenhouse experiments to see what plants would grow under which circumstances the best. There have been a number of scientific experiments on the South Pole and on the International Space Station as to how to grow plants in inhospitable environments. Why is any of this relevant, and how does the space race impact us? Well, if humans are to colonize outside of our own planet, food production is what would make the colonies viable and allow us to expand beyond our own horizons. Thank you for watching our video. If there's a specific topic that you would like to see, drop it in the comments down below, and be sure to like and subscribe if you want to see more content like this. And if you haven't already, be sure to follow us on all of our social medias listed down below. Thank you guys for watching, and we'll see you next week.